Good afternoon. Welcome back to the B&H Event Space. Today we are going behind the music and movies we love, hosted by Antelope Audio. And for that, I would like to welcome the Macedonian magician of music. I just made it up on the spot, Costa. So you got a new nickname now, Kostadin Kamcev. Costa, what's going on, man?
Hey, Derek. Nice to be here, man. It's
It's
great.
great. It's
Great
great to have you.
afternoon. It's hot. But we're surviving. We're good.
We got AC. We're inside. Look, it's not
Oh, yeah.
often that I have somebody that I'm hosting that has a better setup than I do. So
No,
I gotta roll out the red carpet. You look great, sound great. I'm
thank you.
excited.
Okay. Thank you, Derek.
So, for those of you who are just tuning in and don't know, we're going to be talking music, movies, everything behind the board. So, all this great audio, when we hear it through our speakers, it has to get great somehow. Costa, you're going to help us kind of break down the process and take us through a day in the life of what you do. We have mixing, mastering, engineering, sound production, all this stuff that it goes into sound design. So we're going to get into the technical aspect. We're going to get into your mind a little bit and see what goes on in your brain when you're working these sessions. And you're really going to take us on a day in the life of what you do. So I want to send a huge thank you, of course, to Antelope Audio for hosting this wonderful event, and for Costa and his team that is help making this happen. So, Costa, when did it all start for you? How did you get into the audio, the music side of things?
Yeah, that all started a long time ago in high school days when, we started playing with the bands and we being excited about the music, learning the instruments, playing 6 hours, 8 hours a day. And, for somehow I started recording the rehearsals. I got my hands on a little 4-track machine and started recording rehearsals, and it just happened
Is
like
it?
okay, this is new world. That's for me. And since then, I started the bug with upgrading the equipment, recording it, trying to mix it better, get better microphone, do better, try to, advise people how to play to get it better on the tape and.
So you've always had, I guess you've always had an ear for this could be better. What can we do to make this sound better? Even before being, were you ever, did you end up going to school for it or?
Yeah, I had a little, school, like a course, basically
Mhm.
recording course. And then I went through a lot of books for recording. And but I can tell you that mostly what mattered is hands-on. You just, get your hands dirty, get recording, do something. Change it, there's no rules. So do something, to
Mhm.
make it sound better. Like change the setup, change the microphone, change the
Mhm.
distance, change the position. It's all about, how to get a better sound out of the source, if that's being acoustical instrument or,
Mhm.
drums or whatever.
Is that something that I guess comes with experience, knowing how much of it is on the input side, how much is on the post production side? I kind of want to. I'm interested to that for me to know because it's like there's certain things that I'm guessing harder to correct on the post production side. Certain things you got to get right from intake. Can you talk a little bit about that process, especially as you're trying to figure it out? It's like I'm looking at your setup there, and it's like, man, I wouldn't even know where to begin. You got 5 million dials and sliders behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's complicated. Put it that
Mhm.
way. It's pretty complicated. So it starts with the song, right? Somebody has to write the song, and then, the band or the singer itself, as a singer-songwriter, can decide, okay, I'm gonna record this song now. Now it comes the arrangement, what the instrument's gonna play. And that all happens before it even gets to the studio. So, making sure you have the good arrangement first, good structure of the song. When you have a good structure of the song, then let's see what the instrument is going to do. What kind of you feel as your style would be, which is, it gets so deep if you go like that. But then that's where comes this role of a producer, the guy who kind of is a third ear in a way on the side, and he watches you, see your personality, and try to make that song work for you because you're going to be performing it.
Mhm.
And it is very interesting. And then you get to the studio. In the studio, it's like a new environment. Oh my God, what I'm going to do now, how this is going to sound, how that's going to sound. And it depends, how professional is the recording studio. Some guys might get involved in your way, like trying to tell you what to do with your song, not being producers, like a hired producers. And it gets frustrated on the beginning, especially as amateur beginning with all these process. But then as you develop and as you grow up as a musician, I'll say, you know what you're looking for. So you go to the studio or you start working with a producer who understands you and understands your needs, then it gets easier. But it's a pretty rough road to go through.
It's a process. I mean, I guess you have to get to know the nuances between the artists. I mean, likewise, the artist has to get to know the producer. Stuff
Yeah.
that their strengths, weaknesses, what kind of style. I'm guessing because it's music, it's really not. There's no right or wrong, right? I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
there is no
sound.
word, especially nowadays. I mean,
Mhm.
we have, I mean, I don't want to sound like an old guy, but there were kind of not rules, but you have to sound good. It's not, it has to be better. Let's go back and think about this. We were always, kind of trying to get a better speakers, better sound system so you can hear it better and all that. And all that kind of transition to earbags now. So,
Mhm.
it's kind of different view nowadays. And you hear all kinds of music and nothing is wrong, but it's just that that quality for, I would say, like a hi-fi quality is a little bit lost, which still exists, but is shrink down, definitely.
I want to stay right there because I guess, it's similar to a lot of what we do on this platform is photo and video related, right? If you're making a movie, it's made to be seen on the big screen. It's going to be produced a certain way because that's how you're showing it. Are you guys producing music or is there anything that changes? Because like you said, we used to listen to music in a much different way than now. Now, probably 90% of the music we're listening to is headphones. People are walking around with headphones on. Does it
And not
change
just
the
that,
production?
it just turned to a background noise, you know what I
Mhm,
mean? Before, not to, say like the vinyls were better, but the mindset was different. You're getting a vinyl, you opening up, you're reading the credits, which is lost nowadays, kind of trying to get back to it, but it's not going easy. And then you're setting down on the turntable, you're putting the needle on that, and your whole body is ready to listen music. You know what I mean? You're focused to that. Nowadays, you just put Spotify and do something else. And then we're talking to a friend, hey, did you hear that song? Yeah, I heard it. What do you think? I don't know. And if not, if there is not something that is going to slap you down in that song and make you want to listen, you're not going to be really paying attention. It's just
you're
like a
just kinda
background
tuned out.
noise. And it's so much content what we had the other day in the news. The guy from Spotify says content, you know, which
Mhm.
is, he may be right because there's so much music out there, but which is not bad. Before it was hard to get to a record deal or something. You really got to be good, and these A&R people were doing their job by searching for better artists. Well, it's lost. That art is lost a little bit now.
Mhm.
Even the record companies nowadays, I believe they want you to have like 1 million followers so you can get to them, and that's already have the job done. So
Does that make it harder in the sense that, you used to have to be a craftsman. You used to have to be an artisan of your craft and really know your craft to be able to have an opinion or even know what you're doing. Now you have people making albums in their bedrooms. And does that make it harder for you guys to, I guess, check the egos? Is there more ego now where people think they know more or they're more opinionated? Or are you guys still, do you have to assert
I
yourself
mean,
as the professionals?
yeah, I mean the home recording always exists. But Les Paul, his
Mhm,
recording, he did it at home. He tricked everybody with that multi-track recording back in the days, which wasn't even invented. But that meaning it's not like, if you know what you're doing, you can do great record at home too.
mhm,
And the to go back to the craftsmanship, I think we still kind of nurture that in the studio because you have to know your craft. As you said yourself, it's a gazillion buttons behind me. So they're not just so to know what they're doing, but you have to make them work for you, like a tools, you gotta get a screwdriver to do that screw, but you can't get a straight screwdriver to do the, you know, the star screw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to know what you're doing, what is your idea first, and approach it that way, execute it in a way where it's gonna be nice for majority of people, which comes down to taste after that. And it's complicated process this with the music, which is kind of, I don't know how much is, yeah, it is appreciated, of course, but
Mhm. I mean, it seems like it's almost like cooking in, your grandmother's kitchen where she doesn't have a cookbook and it's just sh- cook by taste, a little bit more of this. There's no recipe. It's really just, if something's off, if the timing's off on something or something needs a little kick, or is that kind of how you work?
yeah, there is basics, there is
Mhm.
basics, the frequency range, and the other basic stuff is like the environment where you work in. So your room has to be tuned, your speakers has to be properly aligned in your room. So give you the response, the true response, like nowadays, let's say, I'll talk for myself now. This studio was designed by Jeff Hedback, acoustic engineer. And he said to me, don't change it for an inch if you want to have great sounding room with minimal treatment, which kind of made me stop because I was thinking it's too big. I needed like a big studio, not big control room. I wanted for the people who play to be big. But he said, no, do that and then you'll see. And no wonder. I mean, the room sounds amazing. The treatment is what he recommended to be. And any speaker, you can hear the speaker now. You can hear if speaker is lying to you. So then you align the speaker. And then after that, you sit down and put your ingredients like we're talking about, analog into a kitchen stuff. So then that that's for sure is like that. You used to go out and check it in the cars and stuff. I haven't done that in last 10 years now, at least
Interesting. So
because
it's good.
oh, I
It's
can
just,
trust my room. I
mhm,
know I can trust my room, and the gear is getting better and, everything is kind of manufacturers are pushing the envelope. But at the other end, the real consumer, it's kind of like we're talking, listening to earbags. So,
mhm.
it's tricky.
What's the secret? Is there any big no-nos as far as materials, or because I'm always interested when I see different studio treatments and you have like the sound deadening on some of the walls, and I always wonder, it's like if it's not covering the entire wall, why is it, why is there something here? Why is there something there?
That's an interesting question because there is no right or wrong, but it's all mathematics, it's all acoustics.
Okay.
And as many people know, acoustics is never perfectly resolved because the temperature changes that. The
Mm,
traveling of the sound wave in the air travel different in a different temperature. So it's kind of, but you have to have a ballpark, like a being in a sweet medium kind of thing, so to have
interesting.
that's great response from the room. And I have my ceilings completely uncovered, almost beside the cloud and everything, and still I don't have that bouncy reflection. Like, and that I guess I'm not a acoustician, but I guess it's because of the proportions of the room, how the wave travels to the wall, bounces off that buffer there, and maybe it doesn't go there that much. Or I need to get it back. So I am still in a real environment. I'm not in a, like in a acoustical chamber because that's not good either because nobody has that acoustical chamber. You have to be a little bit, closer to what the real environment will be. So
Interesting.
it's kind of tricky. You can make a perfect room, like with those acoustical chambers, for example, where they test the microphones and the speakers. But then if you work in that environment for mixing, I don't think it's the right environment. You need to get some liveness. There is some kind of reverberation needed when you mix. So that's where the acoustical guys are priceless. I mean, they know their stuff. So
So much goes into it. You don't even we don't
yeah.
even think of all that. Now, what do you prefer? I mean, I know you've worked on movies, music. Is there one that you prefer? Is one easier per se than the other, or is it kind of the same techniques involved?
I mean, the capturing the sound is basically, of course, the same technique. You're capturing the sound, either being an instrument or being a vocal or whatever it is. But, to go back to your question, what I prefer more equally, I don't even, I don't see them different. It's just it's a different time being spent in the studio, put it that way. For example, like when we were working on the Dune movie, there was a lot of only vocals, 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 vocals. At some point, you kind of ask yourself, I need to record some instrument. This is going too long, only vocals. But then vice versa, sometimes it's too much tracking, whatever, classical or jazz, and is going forever, and you want to change. Me personally, I'm that guy. I want to switch styles. I don't want to be stuck to one style, or even the people to think about, oh, what kind of music you do. Like I got those calls, like, what's your specialty, guys? But I mean, my specialty is sound engineering, but I don't know what you mean. I know exactly what they mean. We do rock and roll, or we do jazz over here. So we do all kinds of recording. It's and I'm happy when it's like that. It makes me more exciting. Makes me want to go every day in the studio and
I love that you're passionate about it, and variety.
yeah,
Variety is good. It's good to have a little mix. If you get too far in one direction, it's nice to kind of pull back and
yeah,
get something the
yeah.
other. I mean, Dune was spectacular. It's a spectacular movie across the board. Visually, the sound is just everything's incredible about it. What is that process like for you? I mean, you're the expert in your craft. How, obviously they know what they want. Who handles all the sound? Like I know more about the video side of things, but the audio side, it's kind of lost to me. Like who controls, who directs, who produces all that stuff? How much leeway do you have? And then if you can just take us inside the process of what are you doing in the studio with that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a long process. Dune was the audio. I mean, put it this way. What I worked on Dune with the singer Loire Cutler, and I will get back to her in a second. She's just incredible. I have to spend more time on her. But we worked for 2 years during the COVID time, and was a lot of vocal recording. So back to your question, who produces? Of course, I mean, Hans Zimmer is the guy with the saying who knows what he wants, what he looks for. Sometimes even he doesn't know, but when he hears it, he knows. So he pushes everybody around him, I guess. Even we felt it even here from California, you know, that do your limits, do like his words were open the doors of the laboratory. That's he said, open the doors of the laboratory. So we were just sending audio after audio. We're kind of I was making kind of rough mixes, how we think these vocals, what we recorded, will fit with whatever, because sometimes they're going to send piece of music. We never saw a picture, but they're going to send a piece of music, what is going on. So they wanted to enhance that, or even at some point, I think they were thinking to replace those instruments with the voices, because the idea was female vocal. That was the female powerful vocals in the movie. And if you notice that it's mostly female vocals in the movie, not that everything we recorded here, choirs and all that kind of stuff is recorded there, but the featured vocalists, all these rhythm vocals, we did them here. And Loire was responsible for that whole gig. I mean, she somehow got discovered by Hans Zimmer and was invited there in LA in remote control production. So they did some test recording. They liked what they heard. And I think the COVID hit at that time. And she was kind of saying, we can do this from New Jersey and send you files. They were not so sure in the beginning how that's all going to work and how that's going to sound and everything. So we did a couple like a test sessions. They loved what they heard. And after 4 or 5 sessions, the Hans said, open the doors of the laboratory. Just give me what you think, what you can do. And he
Oh,
knew,
that's
he
awesome.
sensed that the Loire can do a lot of vocals. She's this amazing vocalist. She likes to call herself rhythm vocalist, but she can do anything. She can do anything. I worked with her like 17 years, and we did few of her albums. Uh, she's just incredible.
Mhm.
And
How much do you have to know about? I mean, if I know the technical aspect and I don't know how to sing, I don't know about pitch. I'm sure there's a million things that I don't even know that the musical side, the people who do sing, the vocalists, do you have to know everything, or do you really just have to know what you're
No,
given and
no, as a vocalist, she wasn't involved in the technical aspect.
Mhm.
Occasionally, I'm gonna ask her, okay, what's your next idea? What are we gonna do? You're gonna sing, or you're gonna be rhythm vocals? You're gonna be pulsive vocals? Gonna be smooth vocals? Are you gonna be quiet? You're gonna be whisper? And she's gonna say, okay, we're gonna do now the long tones, for example, and that
Okay.
means the long, vocal tones. But then in the middle of that, she's gonna get another idea. So I had to grab quickly different compressor or different preamp. We tried few microphones, but we were always going back to that one M149 Jubilee edition Neumann, what I have. Preamps were mainly needs, but sometimes we switched to something faster, APIs and stuff. Then the compressors were changing for sure, because it depends how microphone is being attacked. So we to get the whole that dynamic range from her vocal, and she can have a dynamic range. I mean, it's just huge. You gotta be ready to capture that
Mhm.
and sounding good, not distorting, not overloading, not too quiet. So it's like a real good medium. And I think we were pretty successful in that.
I'm gonna ask you to step back decades in your career, because now, I mean,
Sure.
everything's probably just second nature. You can hear something and know, okay, like you said, this compressor, this mic, you kind of know. What are the things that you're looking for as far as piecing together the right audio setup from a gear perspective?
I mean, as I said before, I always wanted to work with different genre of music and different styles. So I never kind of uh, sorted my gear or bought my gear to be only versatile for one thing. So I always wanted to have smooth compressors. Let's go, by piece, kind of like a very versatile preamplifiers, fast, clean, slow, heavy, iron heavy, like a Neve, like something really creamy sounding, like the Telefunken 72s and stuff. So all that palette of microphone is like you having different brushes, so you know where to use your brush. And okay, that's percussion there. It's fast, so it's very snappy. Okay, let's use something clean, something fast to capture that and get that whole thing. Or sometimes you wanna, nice guitars, smooth guitars. You're using different preamps. Same for the compressor. Some are faster, some are slow. There is tube compressors, there is, solid state compressors. They all work different. VCA compressors, that kind of compressors. So I kind of have a little more of everything, not a little bit of everything. It's just accumulated so much gear to the year. So uh, and I'm happy about it. I have, I can go back on my rack and I can just pick up different thing and patch it there, and I have it. Okay, we got it. Well,
Mhm.
do you like? I always ask the clients if they like it, or yeah, the guys are showing some of the outboard gears in the
Dude, I
studio.
didn't even realize you had all. I mean, you're like, it's not even on top of the desk. You're covered head to toe. How do
Yeah,
you
it's
how
a
much of this
lot.
do you use? Like realistically, if I were, let's say on the Dune production, how
Film
much of the equipment
production.
are you using?
Yeah, I would say four preamplifiers different. Then the microphone was always that almost the Neumann, as I
Mhm.
mentioned that one, and then three, four different compressors. Because it's remember we were only recording one vocal, and that was the vocal booth for the Dune, what you see on the screen right now. So she was always there when we need to do like a long tones and pitch tones, because a lot of times we even created instruments for Hans, so he can play that. So, for example, we recorded C, then we recorded D sharp, then we record E. So like two, three semitones, uh, each one, so they can pitch it down, and it's gonna be like a whole another instrument for him. So she needed to get a real exact key for that, and it's
Mm.
it was a process. It was a process, and that was the booth.
That's magical. Now, when we're watching on, in movies and TV and music videos, and someone's recording in a booth and they're behind the boards, what are you adjusting? What are you listening for? Is that really how it is in a session? Are you ever just sitting there taking it, or is it always just kind of tweaking things?
And it's usually when it's the setup time, when the band
Okay.
comes, for example, and you're getting the sounds, levels basically, and you seeing the dynamics from how everybody in the band is playing, how loud is the drummer, how what he hits, how he hits. Is he soft player or is he hard player or is we recording clean guitars, we recording distorted guitars. It's once you figure that out, you're not messing much with the board after that, unless of course, it's changing throughout the day. So we're moving to a different sound, then you still tweak that. And that's the tools. What you saw here on the rack is basically tools, so you need tool to do that. You need to cut this straight. You need to cut it on the angle, so it's basically like that. Or think about the colors, brushes, so you have to make the picture nice and balanced, Same with the sound.
Now,
And
what?
goal for recording always is when we're still there, it's like record it the way so your faders are on zero and sounds okay, sounds good. It's
Okay.
already kind of rough mixed, and then from there you can clean up the blurry picture in a way.
And how are you like what's something that like me taking a picture? I might need to add a little more color, a little more contrast. Is there something like is it compression that you always need compression, or is there some aspect that you always need no matter how clean you get it on the rough cut?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're saying compression, that to me always triggers the presence, like how present is that instrument
Hmm.
into the sound field. So you making a picture. So what do you want it to stand out? You can turn the gain, of course. You can turn the level
Hmm.
up,
You don't want
but
it
then
flat. You want like body to it.
with the compression, you're kind of making it stand out and stuff like that. Then there is a frequency equalizer. So you have to organize the instruments into the frequency range. So nobody covers nobody and is not fighting, like a two guitars. They're on the same range. So you can hear the distinctively. You can pan them, but still you need to clear up the space for each instrument. And, for example, high frequency, the cymbals. Maybe the cymbals are not so bright on the guy. So you have to kind of make up that brightness. And yeah, stuff I
How
say with the bass and all that.
how are you miking all this stuff? Is everything like if you were to have like a band come in, are they recording in one studio? Is anything separate? And are you guys miking? Is every instrument mic'd or is it kind of just mics around?
Yeah, no, it's in in my studio here, we have 5 insulated booths, like separate booths, and then the big room. So when the band is coming, depends of the size of the band. We do big bands, we do normal, regular, like rock bands and stuff. So when it's a big band, for example, in that big room that you just saw,
That's
the
a
brass
recording?
section is there. Yeah, that's the
Wow.
recording space. You can show it again. That's the big room, and usually the brass section is there. The last big band we did was 18 pieces. So 13 people with the brass were there, like trumpets, trombones, and saxophones, and all that. And then the drums, we have a drum booth, I will call it, but it's still like a nice size of a room with the high ceiling, like a 17-foot cathedral ceiling. So then we have the next booth, like a bass guitar or upright bass. Then we have percussion in one. We have a separate piano room insulated, which is sizable, like 14 by 13, I believe it is, with a cathedral ceiling again, not parallel walls and stuff like that. So it still sounds great. And yes, each instrument is mic'd up. Even the drums are mic'd individually. So we have like probably 16 microphones on the drums, more or less 12 to 16. And, you know, it's tricky. You have to be careful about the phasing of those microphones. And, so you get that clarity of the sound of the instruments
Mhm. Is
as
that the
well.
same as like you don't want one overpowering the other? It has to kind of be a balance there, or
Yes, overpowering, but also the phase. When you put 2 microphones, if they're a little bit, like they have a difference, like, in the distance from the source, then they're getting out of phase, depends on what frequency it is. So it might cancel instead of amplifying it. So that's something, you learning with the years of working, it's not like some people reach for the EQ for that. Oh, I don't hear this tom. Let me EQ it better, or let me put it up. Maybe that microphone is out of phase in the relation with the overheads or with the snare, or it's a lot of
How many sets of
factors.
ears are in there? Is it do you always have, I mean, I would think you would have to have multiple people, right? What if I got a bad ear? I'm not hearing something the way someone else is hearing it.
You're basically training your ear. You hear everything because from the years you work, like, and the experience you have with capturing different instruments and different angles of that and different dynamics of players and everything, you you're getting a sense right away what you need to do. So it's not like you have to have perfect hearing. Yes, of course you have
Mhm.
to have, but it's the experience, what you're listening for. It's
Mm,
not how you're hearing. You might be listening, but you hear all the frequencies, but you don't know what to listen for when you're recording. You need to what do you want to get? What is your goal to do?
mhm. How are you piecing all this stuff together? I mean, you showed us a shot before we went live of the computer and that timeline. I'm like, how do you layer all this stuff in? I mean, there's like 40,000 different things coming in at
Yeah, those are
once.
kind of the voices from the Dune what I showed you before. It's like gazillion tracks here.
That's wild.
That's all separate voices, like, and separate section of, let's say that was one scene, I believe. And on the beginning, we had different voices, different set of voices, like, doing. So you could hear that in the movie, all like when the scene was going and you listening to that. Then later on, you have different, or even something more like. So those are the voices only. And we are
Mhm.
sent probably a few tracks with the instruments to go along with it. So it will be like,
We we can't hear it. It's
and
probably not piped in, not piping into our side, but um
you hear it?
no, we couldn't hear it come through.
No, the computer?
A faint hint at the beginning.
Let me double check that real quick. Okay, I can boost it up a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know how that translates. It
Yeah.
should be.
How do
It's
you
it's a lot of voices. I mean,
uh-huh.
this is not a mixed session. This
Yeah.
is just one of the rough mixes we sent.
How do you keep that,
So
like, how do you keep it organized? What's the workflow like?
they're organized by the the what they're doing basically. If
Okay.
it's a rhythm vocal, or what kind of rhythm vocal is it the most percussive one? Is it the frequency one? With the pitch, with no pitch? Is it a low one? So it's very complicated. I mean, it's a combination. What you're hearing actually is not one voice doing it. So one starts, another one picks up, then another comes on the top of it. So they're all together making that sound. And I can say, I mean, you are a genius for that stuff. And
I'm My mind is blown, man. I'm like, maybe it's because I just don't know audio, but it's like just seeing, like, I'm trying to put all this together. Like, when is the sound, the editing, like, or whatever processing, how, like, number one, how many levels is, like, what is the process of you importing that sound? Are you putting things together and then editing it all as one, or is you editing a single piece, bringing it in and kind of piecing it together like that, if that makes sense?
this is, put it this way, we record, this is like one track, let's say,
Okay.
from the record. And that track is one microphone recorded at one time. And then it's being doubled, and it's being doubled like 4 times. So that gets it thicker, nice, thick enough of that tone. But then that tone needs a harmony. So you're doing another 5 layers of different harmony on that. So the different harmony, different harmony. What you see here as a session right now is what we sent as a demo. I mean, what I'm playing back, they got that as a demo. But then at the end, I'm sending the whole session to them, because the final mix of the movie is being done there by Alan Merson, I believe, is the genius behind those
Oh,
huge
okay.
mixes. So he's doing the final mix working with this, which is probably the sound design, the sound scape, and then you have a dialogue, then you have effects. So they putting that all together. I'm just providing the tracks from here. At some point, they loved the demo, so they started asking, "Okay, keep the effects. Don't take the effects out. You know, do they sound good?" So, it is back and forth a lot of with the guys from the team mostly. Hans Zimmer was on a few occasions on Zoom when something specifically is needed, and it's interesting how when it comes to the deadline, when the director is supposed to see some of the scenes, everybody is like, "Oh, give me now." And the week before, day before, we're like, "Oh, we have time, we're gonna do it, no problem." And then boom, everybody's in a rush, and it's funny. I mean, but because I before that I'd never been in that big of a production team, so it was
Mhm.
lots of people, lots of great composers. I mean, and then
How
we'll
does
go back and forth. And
how does it fit into the rest of the production? Are you guys working simultaneously as they're filming, or is this once the filming's done?
no, they we saw at Luar was getting instruction for what the scene is going to be about, emotions for the scene. So
Okay.
it's going to be a scary, or it's going to be emotional, it's going to be the mother crying for the son, or like the movie content, what is the scene. So, and we are trying to come up with the sound. She was trying to come up with the sounds to achieve that feeling. And when something was close enough but still not there, sometimes we got the direction from Hans, and okay, there, it just needs a little more of this, a little more salt, a little more this, like in the kitchen, just a little
A
more.
little more seasoning.
Yeah. And because it's so many voices that the coloring, changing one of them is going to change the color for everything. It's not going to change the whole thing, but it's
Mhm.
and that is interesting because when I saw the first Dune, and I thought to myself, if I was seeing this movie without the sound, I'm not going to be getting even half of the movie, because that's how much was integrated sound with the picture for that movie. I loved it.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, Hans has to know. He's got to know a ton about the audio side of things. I mean, if he's really the
oh
mind
yeah,
that's controlling, it's like me trying to tell you, that take it back to the kitchen again. That's going to be our analogy for the day. If I
that
don't know what flavor I'm looking for, I know how to explain it to you. You don't know what to grab out of the cupboard to put in
yeah.
there. So he has to. So I'm guessing he has to know if it's something's like, okay, well, it's not right, but I don't know like what it needs. Do you ever guys ever run into that?
Yes, sometime, but he's Hans Zimmer. Don't forget that. He did zillions movies, and he started as a keyboardist, as far as I know.
Oh, interesting.
So he's like a very much into the electronics of the keyboards and synthesizers and all that. But for this movie, it was mostly like a live instruments and the live vocals. They added, of course, since his penthouse there with the all the synths and everything. You've seen pictures, most likely. It's just amazing. But he's the guy, yeah.
Is that I mean, for you, like, let's take you for example, Costa. Obviously, you're going to pick things up over the years and the decades, just experience. We all do it. The more we do it, the more variation in our projects, we
Yeah,
pick up things here and there. Is it like a continuing education thing for you? Like, are you
right.
constantly keeping yourself up on the shifting technology and the different kinds of sounds and the way that sound is being used in different ways over the years?
Yeah. I mean, put it this way, as a kid, right, going back, high school, it was a cassette 4-track recorder. Then when I played with the bands, I went to the biggest band for Macedonia in that time. And I was high school. I was the smallest guy there, like the youngest guy. And we went to the national television where they had tape machines, like a 24-track 2-inch, which we have it now here. And we recorded to that. That's another medium. So you have to learn how to work with that. Like hit the tape, hit this, hit that. So I had one of those Tascam 24-track machines, and I learned on that. Then the ADAT technology came. I don't know if you're familiar with that. ADAT was
Mm-mm.
a digital recording machine, 8-track, and recorded on SVHS cassettes, but was the recording was digitally on that for 8 channels. So you had to have at least three for 24 channels, or you know more for more channels. that was another medium you have to learn how to use it. You have to know how to approach it because everything is different now. It's changing. It's digital now. It's not analog. Analog, you push it more, distorts. Digital distorts too, but it's ugly. It's not like analog, you know. And then from that, the computer came up. And I was the pioneer in Macedonia for recording on a computer. So we did the whole, in Europe in general, and Macedonia, the festivals are big thing there. So I recorded the whole festival on a computer for the first time in Macedonia. So I was like, wow, we can do these on the computer. We can copy these and you can paste that. It sounded like crap because it was the beginning of digital, but because of the convenience, we went with it. Nowadays, it's of course it's much better. I mean, it came long way. So speaking about learning, you had to learn all these mediums, and nowadays these when we recorded a tape, you using one sense, you listening only. You know, now you have to look and listen. So that makes you twice as tired working than before. Before
Gonna-
you couldn't see the sound. Now you see the sound. A lot of people go by what they see, and then I'm turning the computer back. I said, no, no, listen. Because they forget to listen sometimes, you know, because they want to see the spike. Oh no, this is, but listen, you know,
Interesting. Well,
it's still,
it's interesting. You talked about that transgression through the technology. One of the things that I find funny is it's understandable on the film, the photo side of things is we've
Mhm.
seen film come back. We've seen people take these super high tech images and want to degrade the images so that it looks old and vintage. Is there any similar kind of trending in music where it's like,
Oh
hey,
yes.
we want to make this music sound like it was a garage band?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Nowadays a lot of tape simulator plugins and stuff, and there's a lot of distortion making plugins, which is like a coloring plugins. Even the hardware, they do these hardware boxes like the solid state logic fusion where we can color. You can add harmonics from the tube, pentode, triode, you know, drive, a little more drive. That's all degradation of the signal of the audio signal, basically. If you put it like scientifically looking at it. If it's a pure audio, it's probably not too pleasant to us because we want to hear that emotion, distortion, you know, you want to be a little more warmer or something.
Yeah, I mean, it resonates with me what you said. Like the new, like the digital distortion isn't the same. Like the old analog distortion has.
Digital distortion is forget it. You're gonna get out of the room right away. Yeah, it's ugly.
Now I
But
want to talk. I want to talk gear for a second. Bring it back there.
sure.
What's some of the gear that you can't live without? Again, Antelope are wonderful sponsors. Are there any Antelope products that have really just changed the
Oh
way
yeah.
you work, or stuff that is incorporated into your everyday workflow that you can't do without?
In my career, I went through a lot of interfaces because I started first on the sound design. I think was called the first Pro Tools wasn't even called Pro Tools back in the days. The sound designer was a one little interface and stuff. So from there, I went to 882, which is a 8-channel single unit. Then it's become 888, 888, 24, and then become DigiDesign, yes, it's separated from Avid, which is interesting story. DigiDesign was a audio division for the Avid video company, but they make it that good that they separated for them. And nowadays we see they went back to Avid again as a under the same umbrella name. So I changed a lot of interface. Like I'm not gonna mention brands and stuff, and I went to some high end and all that. But then somehow I got my hands on Antelope, and my first Antelope was I think was the Orion 32. And I was like, what? This thing, single unit, can have 32 channels, which sound 10 times better than the interface I had before, and it's just single unit, and I couldn't believe that. And then the routing on that, like they have a special, you know, software where you can route inputs with the outputs and make. There's a whole mixer in there. It's a whole studio in there, basically.
Mhm.
You can add effects, you can chain effects, you can record through the effects in the real time, and I was blown away by that. And not just by the flexibility of the interface, but the sound of it. You know, the quality of the recording was so great. And since then, I upgraded to 32 HD, I think they came. And after that, I got the Galaxy, the 64 Galaxy. Right now in the studio, I have Galaxy 64 and the Galaxy 32. Amazing. I mean, it was big part of the sound for the Dune as well, because that interface. I've tried some, like a high-end clean interface, what they call it, like a beautiful and all that, but didn't have, it's not the warmth. Because some people trying to emulate, some companies trying to emulate the tape through their interface. So you record through their interface, it's like sounds on tape, that
Right.
old sound. But no, Antelope has that warmth, but it's still very, very pristine interface. And it's big part of my job. I mean, I have few different companies for different reasons, some because of, I don't know, some sample rate, some because of this or that, but my main interface is always Galaxy. When I capture the full band, it goes to the knee board and goes to Galaxy. That's it. And you got the record right there, sounding like a record, because when you mix and match too much, it's kind of
Uh,
tricky.
An hour wasn't enough to dive in, man. For as much as we talked and as much as I've learned, you just gave me like I just got like the poor man's audio education. You just saved me like an intro class to audio on some of the stuff, but it made me opens your eyes up to really how much you guys do and how much goes into the audio that we hear. We take it for granted, man. Like the sound, music, movies. It's
Yeah,
what's
it is firstly love, everybody
mhm.
started more or less the same way. It's a love for the music, for the sound, and then you got hooked on that. So it's like, okay, give me more. Now I need more. I want to learn more. And then the more you learn, you realize that how little you know, and it's always like that.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You made me realize how little I know. I'm like, man, I don't even I'd have to get way off in the weeds to learn anything. But I gotta ask you, what do I need here? Where does my audio? What is my audio missing?
You're
Am I
sounding
missing
great,
something?
man. Come on, you're sounding great. You guys being age, you can get anything you want.
I gotta treat the room. You didn't notice. I was like, for the past 45 minutes, I'm like, let me see what questions I can get to make my audio better, to get my setup better.
Yeah, you sound great. You sound great.
Awesome. Well, Costa, it's been a pleasure having you on, man. I knew from when we first met on the Zoom call, I'm like, this is going to be a fun, informative hour talking to you.
Yeah,
Definitely delivered. I want to give a huge thank you, of course, to you and your entire team there. The first guest I've had to look better and sound better than me. So you
no,
you take the cake on that.
no. Thank you. Thank you. It's pleasure being here. I mean, thank you for, inviting me to do this interview, and it's really enjoyable. And it can take days. I mean, this is a field which is never ends. I mean, you just go on. What is this? What is that? What is this? And
Yeah.
it
We'll
is.
have to get you back. We'll get back one day, and I'll have to learn a little more about audio. And look at that.
No
Yeah, let's take a
problem.
look
Yeah,
around before
guys.
we close it out here. I want to see this.
Yeah, they're gonna show
Let's
you
see
the
this full
room a little
studio
bit.
setup.
So
That is
that's
just
the
impressive.
console, some beautiful speakers there, KNI, Prax, my working station. We also have an Atmos setup here.
Mhm.
So when I watched Dune movie on this setup, oh my God, they
Wow.
did excellent job.
I mean, that's like soup
And
to nuts. You got everything, every detail.
yeah,
Wow. Costa, huge thank you to you. And I can't forget your team behind the scenes
thank you,
there.
guys.
This was produced
Yeah,
beautifully. I
thank you.
want to I
That's
want to call
Jack
that
and
out.
Theo. They're great. Jack is
Yes.
the video guy, lighting guy. The Theo is the audio guy. So we
Look at
got.
that. There you go. Give him a wave.
There
There we
you
go. I
go.
knew we had the
There you
wide
go.
shot there. Thank you guys. That was that. Wow. Look at that. That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that was the whole room. This
Danny,
is
Fred, we
fun.
got some work to do. We got work to do on the B&H side. We got to catch up. But Costa, huge thank you again to you and your team. The Antelope team, Lubomir especially. I know he's out there hopefully watching somewhere, but no, they've been great
Oh
to
yeah,
work
should
with,
have
and
to come.
definitely. I want to thank everybody behind this. This is a super fun, informative hour. And thanks all of our guests for tuning in. But that is all we have for you today. Another edition of the B&H Event Space now in the books. Catch y'all next time.
Thank you. Bye bye.